less than what you earn, right? That's easy math. If I know I'm bringing in a certain amount of money, but I'm spending more than I'm bringing in, you're probably not going to be able to have financial freedom, right? So what do? I recommend creating a budget where you learn where your money's going. It's not fun, budget's the B word everybody talks about, but once you get through it once, you can learn how to adapt it and make changes as your life changes. Bless you. With budgeting, there's really two different types of expenses. You have essential expenses and discretionary expenses. Essential expenses are the must-haves. Housing, food, housing, food, cars, insurance, the things that you have to live, right?
Yeah.
Discretionary expenses, on the other hand, are the nice-to-haves. That would be travel. That would be buying that new pair of shoes. That would be going out to Texas Roadhouse with the family for dinner. Yeah, it's fun, but it's not a necessity, right? My wife would say buying a new pair of shoes at Kohl's is an essential expense, right? I disagree, but I lose that battle. Happy wife, happy life. So yeah, the key is learn to track your expenses and see where you're spending your money. Then you could start to learn, hey, where are some things I could cut back on, right? Going to Starbucks and spending $5 a morning on a latte maybe isn't the best idea if you're struggling with keeping up with your finances. Automatic bill payments. We recommend making sure you pay your bills on time, right? Well, you can set up automatic bill payments where your Duke Energy payment is done on a certain day of the month. Your phone bill, your credit cards. If you have an automatic bill payment, you'll never be late, as long as you got the money in the account, right? That's the key. Automatic savings. If you're in a position where you have excess, and we'll hopefully get there, let's say you have $50 extra a paycheck, rather than keep it in your checking account and you spend it, move that $50 over to some type of an account on an automatic basis. You'll never miss it, trust me, because you never saw it. It automatically got transferred. That's a great way to start building some money. This is a budget worksheet that we have our clients fill out. And again, you guys will get a PDF version of this via email, I believe, after today. And so all of my slides will be in there. But this is the budget worksheet, again, that helps you track essential expenses, discretionary expenses. The key to do it is you got to monitor it, right? So once you have a budget, figure out, where is my money going? I recommend using a credit card for most expenses. Then you can track it every month, right? Like I use Capital One. Capital One sends a very comprehensive statement where it itemizes, hey, you spent this much money on food, you spent this much money on gas, you spent this much money on this. Then you can reconcile your spending versus the budget and see if you can make adjustments, see if I'm overspending in certain areas, right? We recommend having an emergency fund and building some savings accounts. An emergency fund, we would love you to have 3 months of your living expenses set aside into some type of an account that you have access to for unexpected expenses, right? The reason for that is, hey, life throws us curveballs, right? I mean, every day it's something. I mean, you can get in a car wreck, you need to get new tires, your kid gets sick, your dog has to go to the vet. If you don't have an emergency fund, guess what? You're charging those expenses, and then you're building up debt, which we don't want to have, right? An emergency fund is the foundational part of being financially free. As you get farther along in your life, sometimes it's better to have a bigger financial emergency fund, maybe 6 months, maybe up to a year's worth of expenses, just again, for a rainy day. Try to build it up to get around 3 months worth of living expenses. And again, it might take time, but if you start socking away $50 a paycheck, don't spend from it. It's only for emergencies, so don't use it to go to Walt Disney World, or don't use it to buy that set of golf clubs. It's only for emergencies. I recommend also having different savings accounts for different goals. So you have your emergency fund over here, and then let's say I know I'm going to Florida next year. Start saving some money for it, right? $20 every month, whatever you can afford. Start putting it in a separate account. And a lot of the places you can set up savings accounts with allow you to nickname them on their website. So it's very easy to know where my money is and how much I have in each account for each goal. Let's see here. As you guys probably have noticed, most banks pay sorry, go ahead.
I had a question about that. So the emergency fund, you want to be able to have access to it, so it'd be like a regular savings account, or?
Yes, sir. We would not recommend like a CD, for example.
But for vacations, you could do a CD.
You could potentially on what the rates are. Right now, the best deal for your money is an online savings bank.
Okay.
Right now, if you went to your local bank, a Fifth Third or a PNC or a US Bank, for example, they pay nothing on their savings accounts, maybe 1/10%. I mean, it's pennies on the dollar. That's how banks make money, right? They load it out at 6 or 7%, and they pay you 1/10%. Well, you can open up your own savings account through an online bank. They're FDIC insured. So if the bank fails, guess what? You get your money back. Up to $250,000 per person. But if you have let's say you're married, you could have $500,000 in one account, and you're guaranteed to get your money back. The only difference between an online bank and, let's say, a Fifth Third is they don't have a local branch. So you're doing everything via the computer or an app on your phone.
What is a good online bank? Fidelity.
The two I recommend are Ally Bank and Marcus by Goldman Sachs. As of yesterday, they're paying 4.2%.
What do you make of Fidelity?
At Fidelity? Fidelity's not a bank.
No, I'm talking, okay, yeah, there's another one though that has 5% right now, because I just got one and
Yeah, so like some other ones that I've heard of would be Discover Bank, Capital One, American Express will have something similar. Fidelity Investments, I used to work for Fidelity for many years. They have what's called money market accounts, which are not federally insured. The risk of you losing money is next to nothing, but they're not FDIC insured. They pay closer to 5% right about now. But if you're concerned and safety is important, I would stick with an FDIC insured bank.
Yeah, because investment accounts are not insured accounts.
They're not, but money market accounts is just a fancy name for a
For
savings
investment,
account
yeah.
offered through an investment company. Yes?
And then they pay you, is it the end of the year, is that how it works? Or?
Every month.
Every month?
Every month. You get interest credited to your account and it just adds to your balance.
Based on the amount of money you have in your account.
That's correct. The important thing also with savings, you want to have access to it, right? With the online banks, you can connect your local bank, like your checking account, to them. You just have to give them your routing number, which is 9 digits, and then your account number. It creates a link between the two accounts, and you can move money back and forth. It takes about 2 days, so it's not as immediate as going into Fifth Third and saying, hey, I need a cashier's check or whatever. So just make sure you keep that in mind if you have a big purchase coming up and you need that access.
I have Synchrony and they're paying 4.79 right now. Synchrony, and I'm a nerd. I have 15 sinking funds there.
15 different.
Sinking funds.
That's great.
Yeah. For like shoes, my
cruises and stuff.
I do. I cruise, but I have one for shoes because I just spent $500 on shoes. So.
Student right there.
Yeah.
Just like the debt, because we touched on the debt, like somewhat for payoff and stuff. Would you suggest like starting to pay down debt before you have things like a home down payment or vacations and stuff like that? If so, do you suggest the snowball method or something
Yep,
different?
and we'll get to that in just a second, but emergency fund should be the foundational goal. Try to have an emergency fund first, because if you don't have one, that can derail all your other goals, right? Home down payment, vacation, etc. But debt, yes, we want to try to pay that off as soon as we can. So yeah, online savings banks would be a great resource for any money that you want to put as an emergency fund or other thing. Also, with checking accounts at your bank, you should not have to pay a fee to have a checking account. Some banks, they charge like $50 a year or $5 a month. Heck no. You go in there and say, I'm not paying you anything. Or if not, you go and find somewhere else that has a better checking account. And you only want to keep enough in there just to cover your monthly bills. And then anything in excess, move to a savings account so it's making you money. You know, we all work for money. Make your money work for you. I mean, that's another foundational goal there. Credit cards, like you were talking about. Credit cards can be good, credit cards can be bad, depends on how you use them. Number one, if you have a credit card, look for one that doesn't have an annual fee, unless there's a value for paying the fee. I personally have a Delta Sky Miles Amex card. What's nice about that is you get to check bags for free. I can check 2 bags, my wife can check 2 bags. Heck, that saves me $150 a year if I take a couple flights, right? For the first year it was free, and then I paid $50 a year. I hate paying $50, but I do the math and I'm like, well, if I fly 2 times a year, it kind of pays for itself, right? That's okay. But a normal credit card, try to find one that doesn't have an annual fee. Don't use debit cards for any kind of purchase. Here's why. Who here has been hacked in like their credit card or their bank account? Happens all the time, right? If somebody hacks your credit card, and let's say they have a fraudulent purchase on there, are you on the hook or is the credit card company on the hook? Credit card company's on the hook, right? They're gonna fight because they're gonna have to get that money back. If you use your debit card, that money is gone out of your checking account. You gotta
Not
fight to
ever
get
Visa
that
or
money back.
MasterCard debit card.
I hear
With
horror
the
stories of
logo
people
on it.
who have used, their debit card to buy Amazon stuff or, Temu or whatever
I've
it
had
is.
that happen.
And then they'll check their account saying, what in the world? There's like $5,000 that was withdrawn and then transferred out somewhere. They then have to go through all the security and the fraud with their bank and try to get that money back.
But is it okay to pay your bills with it?
Oh yeah, it's okay. However, again, if you put the debit card number out there on the internet, it could potentially be hacked. So I try to minimize that. So we'll kind of go over some bill pay best practices here in a minute too. And I carry a debit card, but it's only for ATMs. If I ever need cash, never use a credit card for cash advances. Go ahead.
I have a question, like my bank that I have, it says debit on my credit card,
But is it really a credit card?
but that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, it probably is.
It says like Visa or MasterCard and then it says debit.
Yeah, debit means it's coming directly out of your checking account.
Right.
That's not a credit card.
Either.
Okay,
Yeah, a credit card would be where the bank is keeping that debt and then you pay them every
Right,
month to
okay.
pay that debt off. Whereas a debit card comes directly out of your checking account and then basically you're paid up.
so should I not have the card through the bank then?
Well, it's okay to carry it and okay to have it for like ATM withdrawals, but don't use it for purchases. Don't swipe it at Target. Don't purchase anything on Amazon.
Well, usually when I swipe it, it'll say credit or debit, so always
Yeah.
choose credit.
That's like a transactional fee that the merchants are trying to look at. But
Okay.
if it's coming out of your checking account, it's a debit card.
Okay,
So I would get a credit card, which you would use instead of that.
okay.
Go ahead.
So I use Chime and they have like a credit builder card. Is that different from like a regular credit card?
No, that's similar, but it has a very low limit.
Oh, okay.
It's designed for younger people or people without credit to try to build up their credit
Build up,
history.
okay.
So that's like a baby credit card. And then
Okay.
once you have a kind of a track record, you can then apply for a bigger credit card with bigger balance.
Okay.
It also is if you have one of those, you're in business, you're back to.
Yes, yeah, that's where a lot of times they have secure credit cards,
Yeah.
where you give them $500 and they hold it, but then they let you spend up to $500 on credit, because they know if you don't pay, they got your $500 already. They do, that is correct. Also look for a credit card that has reward points. Yes, sir.
I'm kind of afraid to ask, but what about like Apple Pay? I mean,
Apple Pay is a credit card.
So, but is that okay? Like, okay.
Yeah, because it's not really coming out of your bank
No.
account, so it is a credit card.
But you-
Cash App is a debit, isn't
What is that?
it? Cash App, like the card that they have, that's coming out of your
If you
account.
link it to your bank account, it is, yes.
Cause it says right in the card.
Yes,
So
again,
you
I would
Apple
not
Pay
link anything.
linked to your bank account?
No, you transfer money to it.
Okay, then that's fine.
So try to find a credit card that offers reward points, just so again, you're making your money work for you. I use Capital One for my normal everyday purchases. They pay 1.5% on everything I buy. That's easy, free money, and then it just builds up in a rewards account that you can use for other purchases.
If you pay it off monthly.
Again, we're gonna get to that. That's the bad thing. That's the bad credit cards. Here's the last thing. Pay off the balance each month. I know it's tough, but you're paying that bank 20 to 25% interest
28.
on the outstanding balance.
Don't they also say to only, use a third of it, of your limit?
That can affect your credit score. So for example, what you're mentioning is, let's say your credit limit is $5,000. If you start to build up a balance that gets near that limit, that's gonna negatively affect your credit limit, or credit score, I should say. The credit lenders like to see that you have access to credit. They just don't want you to use it and get very close to that limit, because then you're like, well, hey, time out, this person's acting a little sketchy. You know, they're starting to maybe get close to being tapped out on the credit. Right, right. And then back to your question, the whole snowball method. If you do have a credit card balance, let's say you have 3 cards that have balances, a JC Smalls, a Target, and an Amex or a Visa or MasterCard. Pay them off if you can, right? But if you can't, pay off the one with the highest interest first. Once that's paid off, you take that money that was going to that card and then roll into the next card. They call it the snowball method. Still make your minimum payments on all the cards, because you gotta do that, right? But try to pay off the highest interest first, then roll that money into the next card, pay that card off, and then finally, whatever's left, pay off. But here's the secret. Once you've done that, don't do it again, right? Well, it's okay, I mean, have it, but just don't build up balances. Balances is an obstacle to being financially free. If you owe money on credit cards, that's just dumb debt to me. If I owe on a car, I'm okay with that, right? Because it's an asset, even though it depreciates, but it's got value. But if I owe a bunch of money on a credit card that I used to go to dinner, I already digested all that, you know? That was kind of a waste, right? Next.
The last one, resource cards.
There we go. And you guys have probably got a handout on this. This is something odsp is partnering with, where, again, it just helps you kind of save money on things. So if you use this app, you can get discounts on things that you shop at, places you go, like amusement parks, zoos, whatever. There is an app that you can link through odsp, which will offer you some discounts. All right, this was popular in the last session. Buying versus leasing a car. Everybody needs a vehicle, right? We talked about going to the dealership is a horrible experience. But if you know in advance what a fair price is for what you're looking to purchase, you're gonna have a lot of confidence. KBB.com is what I use, kellybluebook.com. You plug in the year you want, the model, the make, the features, it'll give you a fair price of what you should pay for that vehicle. New or used. And then it actually puts it on a very visual fuel gauge where it's like green versus red. And it kind of tells you what the average price is versus the MSRP. If you have that in your back pocket when you go to the dealership and they say, oh no, we're charging this, you go, that's odd. This says I should only pay this amount. You have the ammo now to negotiate and make sure.
Car dealerships say they don't go by the Kelly whatever, but they had another one they went by.
Yeah, Edmunds is another one.
Yeah, it was like.
Right, that's their sales spin. Leasing a car, okay?
Another option.
Not such, I see you shaking your head. Not such a bad thing all the time. Mathematically, the best thing you should ever probably do if it's all about the pennies and dollars and cents.
Uh-oh.
Technical problem. Is if you buy a vehicle and you drive it till the wheels fall off, you did a good thing. Okay? But I like new stuff. I'll be honest with you. I like nice stuff. And sometimes I want to have a newer vehicle every so often. Well, if you can't afford the monthly payment on buying a vehicle, leasing can be an option. With leasing, you're basically renting the car for 3 years. That's all it is.
If you
When
wreck it, you
lease,
have nothing to
have
show
have
for
a
your
certain
money.
amount of money down payment,
No, you
3,500
don't.
or
No,
Not
Depends.
always.
What'd you say? If you wreck it, you have nothing to
Yeah,
show
it's
for
gonna
your
be
a second.
thing. I have friends
With
that
leasing, like you
wreck
said, a lot of times they want money
Because
down, but even
the-
with a car purchase, you gotta put some money
The
down.
dealership owned the car, paid the lease,
Leasing,
the
you're
insurance money,
renting the
went to the
vehicle,
dealership,
and
so
you're
for all the money they
basically
paid
just
for the
paying
lease, they had nothing.
depreciation
Get
for that
another
period
car.
of time. At the end of the lease, you turn the vehicle back in, you can buy it yourself, or you can even trade it in for another vehicle. Leases are usually 10,000 miles per year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can get 12,000. You can get 15,000, but you're gonna pay
You
more
don't live
per
in
month,
Portage
right?
County and drive a
You're
lease.
depreciating that car more. Not to get too technical, but there is a math equation to know if the lease is a good deal or not. The way it works is you take the down payment, divide it by the length of the lease. So let's say it's a 36-month lease and they want $3,000 down. Take $3,000, divide it by 36, whatever that, let's say it's $100. Add that to the monthly payment that they're quoting you. So let's say the monthly payment's $300 a month to lease a car. Well, if I add in what I had to put down, I'm now at $400. Take the monthly amount divided by what the purchase price of the vehicle would be. If you do the math and it's under 1.25, it's a good deal. The cost of leasing that vehicle is affordable. If it's greater than 1.25, you're better off walking away or purchasing a vehicle rather than leasing. Okay?
Would you figure the amount that they're giving you on your, you know, because we've been in a weird situation the last few years with being able to have positive residual on our leases.
Yeah.
Generally, which is crazy. I mean, who knew that
Right.
a leased car would ever, you'd be ahead of the
We
ball
were just in
game.
the same boat. My wife leased a Highlander, and at the end of the 3 years, even though she was over in miles, we were able to buy it and then sell it to the dealership for more than what I would have been able just to turn it back in for.
Yeah.
So that's a rare thing.
When you were in that situation, is that difference that the dealership may be willing to give you the same as what you're down paying, the way you would?
Yes,
figure
because that
your down
counts as
payment
equity.
and if it's- Okay.
Yeah, that counts as equity, but you would just factor that in. So if the value of the car was $3,000 that they were giving you for it, that in a sense is your down payment, so you divide that by the months.
Okay,
And
that's,
add it to your-
okay, so that equation.
Is that taxable though?
It's not taxable.
The problem with when you saw me shaking my head no is I'm an independent provider, so I drive miles.
Yes.
So I bought my car in September. I could have leased it for half of what I'm paying monthly, but I've already put 15,000 miles on it just since September. It had 8 when I drove it off the lot, so I can never lease.
I mean, it wouldn't make financial sense for you, even though you could probably get a lease that had 20,000 miles a year, but you're paying a lot of money per
Yeah,
month.
because I've already done it.
Yeah, so for you, if I drive a lot, I think it would be better to just buy a car and
That's what I did.
try to drive it till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
I'm trying to bring up my PowerPoint, but I can't see the, there it is. Sorry, guys.
Ask him what's stock market. There you go.
There we go. Sorry for the trouble. And then if you're buying a vehicle, don't always rely on what the dealer's giving you for interest rates. You know, they're in the business. Dealers only make about $1,000 to $2,000 per transaction. So if you buy a $50,000 car, they're only making about $1,000 or $2,000 on that car. They're making money by all the add-ons, selling you an extended warranty, getting you to get a 5% interest rate where you could have got a 3.5% rate through your bank, right? Me and my wife were shopping for a vehicle last year, and we got down to the price, and I was like, well, what's this charge for $800? Well, that's for your safety, sir. That's called a pulse braking system, where we put this chip in there, and it makes your brake light flash.
All right.
What? Now you're gonna charge me $800 for this feature? I'll just press my brake myself, and then if I really want to make it flash, I'll just pump the brakes. But that's how dealers make money, is they add all these stupid add-ons in there. So again, just be aware of that. That's how they make their money.
And they make more money on used cars than they do.
Used cars and service. That's why GM and Ford and Toyota have 20 service fees. That's where they make their money. All right, we're okay on time. Buying a home. Again, we talked a little bit about this. Home ownership is declining in America.
It's too expensive.
It's too expensive. A lot of people just don't want to have the hassle of home ownership.
Give you a loan when you have a tax-free income.
And
No, because they want $189,000 for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. I'm not paying that.
Well, yeah, but a lot of people that have OSL incomes because it's 20147.
It is, and that's
They're trying to have a hard time proving to the bank they actually have an income.
Yep, you're 100% right. Home ownership is still an option. If you're a first-time home buyer, I recommend going the FHA route, Federal Housing Authority. That's where you can purchase a home for as low as 3.5% down. And then you're financing the rest. The maximum you can finance for is 30 years. You can get a fixed rate mortgage or an adjustable rate mortgage.
No, what an adjustable rate.
Depends. A fixed rate right now is around 6.5% for a 30-year fixed rate. Not crazy high, but it's a lot higher than what it was just a few years ago. A few years ago, you could get 2.5%, 3%.
2018, it was in the teens.
Just because interest rates have increased.
Oh yeah, that's when I bought my first house.
Expensive, but it's nowhere, like my parents, their first house was like 15%.
Oh yeah.
If, for example, you felt that, hey, 6.5% is too high, I'm gonna play the game and I'm gonna get an adjustable rate mortgage. That's where it offers usually a lower rate up front, but then after a certain number of years, will go up depending upon where interest rates are at that time. I would be a little hesitant to go adjustable if I know I'm gonna be in that home for long term, but if I know it's only a 3 to 5 year play, yeah, I'm okay with that, because then I'm gonna be able to save some interest at a lower rate, and then by the time the rate would climb, I'll be selling my home anyway. So just be mindful of that. Credit score, I think somebody over here had a question about credit scores and what do you do with that. The key is pay your bills on time, right? Try not to get too close to the maximum credit limit. Lenders also look at how long you had credit. So I made the mistake when I was younger, I got a credit card, I forget who it was. But then I stopped using it and I just had it, but then I canceled it. Well, I found out that was dumb. You should have just kept it open and never used it. So if you have a credit card, keep it open as long as you can. Don't use it, obviously, don't carry a balance, but lenders want to see a long credit history. And if you have a credit card that's been open for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that's going to help boost your FICO or Beacon scores, they call it. Another cool thing, I use Capital One for my credit card. They offer a free service called Credit Wise, where every month you get a little update on what your FICO score increased or decreased to, and then it tells you why. So it'll say, hey, your FICO score decreased by 2 points because you have now more outstanding debt than you did the previous month. Or you were shopping for a car and you had 3 different dealers pull your credit. That's not good.
Right.
Doesn't Credit Karma do that too?
They do, yeah.
They do.
Same thing. Sometimes they make you pay for things like that, but yeah, mine's free through Capital One. And then, again, home ownership, not for everybody, but the nice thing about home ownership is you are building equity, which is gonna save you money in the long run. If you rent, you're gonna be renting forever, right? If you buy a home, eventually it's gonna be paid off, and then that's gonna lower your monthly payment. Go ahead.
So let's just say you're on the verge of paying off your home and you want to make updates. Would you advise taking out a home equity loan or using like what you would have paid in the mortgage to go towards the updates for your home? And I just think if you're using equity line credit, you're putting yourself back into that debt depending on how much you're paying, and you just came out of a mortgage payment.
Right. So our approach, what we would advise clients is if you pay off your loan and you have now excess cash, you better be doing something smart with that money. You shouldn't just be spending $2,000 more a month going to Target or Amazon, right?
Yeah.
So if I know that I'm gonna be adding an addition to my home, putting in a pool, yeah, you could use that money to build up money to pay for that expense. But if you have a short-term need, a home equity loan is a great way to access the equity in your house at whatever the prevailing interest rates are. But the key is you gotta pay it off. You know, again, like you said, you're building up debt again. But it's a smart way to use money to pay off debts or use it to build or, you know, add additions to your home or whatever.
70%.
So that mortgage payment that you would have been paying.
Perfect.
Is there some place that you could put that money into that would build up more funds so you can put that towards
Yeah.
a bigger payment?
You, like in a savings account,
Okay.
if you wanna keep it safe and secure, or an investment account, where it's attached to the market going up and down. Generally, savings accounts are more appropriate if your time horizon is like 3 years or less.
Mhm.
Anything 3 years or longer, an investment account's gonna make you more money, but it's gonna be a bumpier ride, of course, too.
Okay.
All right, saving for retirement. This is kind of what my sorry, go ahead.
Back on the other screen, you had said building equity instead of renting. What if you're renting to own?
That's a pathway to home ownership, and that's better than just renting.
Okay.
Yeah, like a lease, buy option's another term that you could use for that. Yeah, renting to own is a way to get into a home ownership also. Saving for retirement. So through your work, a lot of times you'll have access to a 401k or a 403b. Those are the two terms you may have heard. That's where you contribute to retirement through your paycheck. A lot of employers will also offer an employer match, where if you put in a certain percent, they will match what you put in up to a certain percent. That's free money, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of employers will say, hey, we match 50% of what you put in up to 3%. So if you do the math, and again, they make it more complex than it needs to be, that means you gotta put in 6% of your pay, and then they're gonna put in 3% of your pay. And again, that's free money. You didn't do anything. You put money in, but then they're throwing an additional 3% of their money into your account for nothing. That's awesome. That's a way to build wealth and hopefully build up a nest egg for retirement. If you don't have a 403b or a 401k through work, which in your field, sometimes that's the case, you can create your own. It's called an IRA, individual retirement account. You can open a Roth IRA for as little as $50 through a firm like Fidelity or Schwab or E-Trade, and you contribute. It doesn't come out of your paycheck, but it would just come out of your bank account. And you set it up on a regular schedule where you're putting money in and investing. We are big fans of the Roth option. A Roth, and that's available through 401ks, 403bs, and IRAs. A Roth is where you put in money after tax, so you don't get any deduction for putting the money in. It's like just a line item on your paycheck, but it grows tax-free. You never pay another penny of tax on any of that money or the growth of it, as long as you use it for retirement. So if I put in $1,000 today, and I let it grow for 30 years, it could be worth, let's say, $20,000 in 30 years. I can take that $20,000 out and never pay a penny of tax.
What's the age limit
The age limit for what?
to pull it out?
59 and a half. If you access it prior to 59 and a half,
I'm already there.
10% penalty, and they tax you on the earnings. Go ahead.
What about for starting one in family planning? Like, can you start one for a baby so that, like, kind of like a college fund?
Great question. So you have to have earned income to contribute to retirement accounts. If you're a business owner, there are ways you can pay your kids modeling fees and say, well, they're a model because they put them in the pamphlet, and then you can pay your child a fee, and then they can turn around and invest that into a Roth IRA. Most clients, that's not the case. College savings is a totally different animal. Yes, you can open up college accounts for babies as long as they have a social security number. But retirement accounts, you have to have earned income.
How was the child saving company?
Ohio has a 529 college savings plan, which you get a state tax deduction for all your contributions up to $4,000 a year. And it grows tax-free as long as you use it for college. Yes?
What about rolling over from an IRA to a Roth IRA? Is that
Yep.
a route I should take?
So if you already have IRA money or a 401k from a previous job, they are portable. You can move them over to your new job. You can move it over to an IRA. There is something called a Roth IRA conversion. That's where you take pre-tax money that has never been taxed and you convert it to Roth money so it grows tax-free. In theory, it's a great thing, but you're on the hook for paying the taxes on that money in the year you do it. So if I have a $10,000 IRA that has never been taxed and I want to put it into Roth, IRS, yeah, well, you can do it, but we're gonna make you pay taxes on that $10,000
Right.
out of your pocket. So you gotta write a check to the IRS for $2,000. So you gotta make sure you have the money to be able to afford to pay the taxes if you do conversions. That's not a rollover. A rollover is no tax. If I move it from one IRA to another IRA or a 401k to a 401k or IRA, whatever, no taxes are on that. That just helps you simplify things.
So when they, because I do, you know, the max amount that I can do, and per year, just making sure that I'm going the right route, because I keep just putting it in there, and then the tax, because I do my money, is that I don't get a refund from the federal, because I want to do my money, not them.
Right.
So, but when I put this money into an IRA, then
Mhm.
I get my
Oh,
money
I
from
prefer.
the fed.
She lives
Right,
near me.
that's probably because you're contributing to a deductible IRA, which lowers your taxable income. I would say check out a Roth IRA. It's not tax deductible, but it'll pay you dividends in the future because it's gonna be tax-free. So it's either pay me now or pay me later with the IRS. Go ahead.
What's the name of a company that I could do a Roth, because I don't pay taxes till later?
Yep, so Fidelity Investments is a great option for opening an IRA.
Okay.
I don't work for them, I don't get any money for telling you that. They don't charge you any fees to open the account.
Okay.
And they don't charge you any maintenance fees. A lot of IRA custodians charge you like $50 a year just to have an account. Fidelity is great because, again, you do everything pretty much on their website.
Okay.
But yeah, if you go to a Fidelity or even a Charles Schwab, Schwab.com is another one.
I'll send you my
You would open
name
up
and
an
my
IRA and not have to
Okay.
worry about paying any fees.
Okay.
I'm glad to hear you say that about that.
Good company. I worked there for 18 years before I went to my new firm. But yeah, they're great, especially for low-cost options. Let's see, we got like 5 minutes left. Any other questions on anything? I kind of blew through a lot of this because I thought we were going to run out of time. But another little tidbit. Oh, go ahead.
So you said the first thing that we need to do is the emergency fund.
Emergency fund
Fund before
should be your
paying off the debt.
foundational goal. Yes, because again, if you